This is a Fox News alert. President Obama announced just a few hours ago that he has spoken on the phone with Iran's new president, Hassan Rouhani, and that he believes a nuclear deal can be reached. Welcome to Hannity, everybody. I am Monica Crowley, in tonight for Sean. Here's how all of this played out earlier today. President Obama made a rare appearance in the White House briefing room and made this announcement.
Just now, I spoke on the phone with President Rouhani of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The two of us discussed our ongoing efforts to reach an agreement over Iran's nuclear program. I reiterated to President Rouhani what I said in New York. While there will surely be important obstacles to moving forward, and success is by no means guaranteed, I believe we can reach a comprehensive solution.
And while our commander-in-chief is open to negotiating with the rogue and terrorist regime in Tehran, he is not open to doing so with Republican lawmakers. Here's what he said earlier today about the looming government shutdown.
If Republicans have specific ideas on how to genuinely improve the law, rather than gut it, rather than delay it, rather than repeal it, I'm happy to work with them on that through the normal democratic processes. But that will not happen under the threat of a shutdown. So over the next 3 days, House Republicans will have to decide whether to join the Senate and keep the government open or shut it down because they can't get their way on an issue that has nothing to do with the deficit. I will not negotiate over Congress's responsibility to pay the bills that have already been racked up.
Well, now, this news comes after the United States Senate passed a spending bill earlier today, which funds the federal government through December and also funds Obamacare. The bill is now punted back to the House, where it's bound to meet resistance from GOP lawmakers. Joining me now with reaction to this and more are Congresswoman from Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn, and Texas Congressman Michael Burgess. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being here. Congresswoman, let me start with you. This political hot potato now has been bounced back to your chamber. President said this afternoon he's not negotiating on anything. Spending cuts, Obamacare, the debt ceiling. He is not moving. He's immovable. And what do you say to that?
We have invited the president over and over again to come and negotiate with us. We've extended the hand of friendship. We would love for him to meet us at the table and to work on these issues. The fact is, the American people do not want this law. It is not ready for implementation. He has actually delayed different provisions, made 19 different delays on this, Monica, and looking at stalling the implementation on it. But yet when we bring a bill, my bill, H.R. 2809, to delay it for 1 year, it's no, we don't want to do that. He's already admitted it's not ready for prime time. So when this hot potato comes back to us, there are a lot of my colleagues who are saying, well, we'll put a couple of other qualifiers on it, maybe a delay for a year, maybe an individual mandate delay, and we will send it back to the Senate.
Congressman Burgess, I'd like to get your read on this, too. Congresswoman Blackburn just raised the possibility of a delay and sending that back to the Senate, maybe a 1-year delay, say on the individual mandate, maybe some other things. There are two minds on this issue of delay. Some people say, let's delay it, let's sort of delay the pain of implementing Obamacare for 1 year. Other people say, well, wait a minute, let it go forward, let it collapse under its own weight, let the pain actually be inflicted on businesses and individuals, and let the Democrats then hang by their own petard, by their own horrendous bill. What do you believe about a delay? Where do you stand?
Well, they're both valid arguments. I haven't been a big fan of delay. I thought defund was the way to go. But let's be honest. Marsha's correct. The president is the delayer in chief. It started in February when he closed the window to people who wanted to sign up for pre-existing insurance coverage. And he said, no, we're not going to sign anybody else this year. You'll have to wait till next year. The supposed cap on out-of-pocket expenses, he said enough of that. The employer mandate, that was a big deal. Right before the 4th of July, Valerie Jarrett, in a blog post, delayed that. So So the president has been the big delayer. Now, the other trajectory of letting it enact and letting the cookie crumble, sure, there are a lot of people who think that is a valid strategy. There's precedent for that. In 1988, Dan Rostenkowski, who was the Democratic chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, passed a catastrophic care bill. He went home and his town halls were unruly and unmanageable, and he came back to Washington and said, I got to get rid of this thing. There is the possibility that that could happen, but honestly, Monica, there's going to be so much pain involved in that, and at this point, I feel honor-bound to try to stop the train wreck that I see coming.
You know, Congresswoman, all of the things that the congressman just laid out is true, and in effect, this president is actually defunding his own law through all of those delays and waivers and exemptions he's given to all of his political cronies. He's, in fact, carrying out some of his own defunding of this law. How do we then move forward? So the Senate's now going to bounce it back to you. What are you guys prepared to do? I know the debate over the delay also talk about the congressional exemption to Obamacare that a lot of folks are saying, hey, let's take that out as well. What's the next step here?
Well, the next step, we will meet tomorrow about noon, and I'm sure different ones that favor different proposals will bring those forward, and then the conference will make a decision. And you were talking about the congressional exemption. That is one of those items that's there. Looking at other provisions that are dealing with entitlement reform, there are some that favor that. I think that people are really looking at the delay of the bill because, Monica, this is the way that we not only stop the programs, but we stop all the taxes from taking place, the insurance excise tax, the medical device tax, those things that give that little pool of revenue that they have to have in order to stand this law up. So I think the decisions tomorrow will be made. I think the discussion is going to be robust, but you are so right when you talk about how he has given waivers and favors to his friends and his cronies. I mean, when you've got big labor agreeing with Marsha Blackburn that this is not a bill that's ready for implementation in prime time, then you know that people are beginning to turn against this. The majority of the American people don't want it. And as Mike was saying, you know, of course, it is going to be so incredibly disruptive. He's a physician. He knows how disruptive. We're hearing from hospitals that are closing, physicians that are closing practices, people that are losing jobs, businesses that are not expanding, insurance costs that are going up over 5 times what they're paying now. We have families that are looking at their out-of-pocket expenses increasing by about 300%. I mean, this is a lot of disruption to the healthcare marketplace.
Oh, yes. I mean, the horror show has already started, and the law hasn't even kicked in yet. Let me ask you, Congressman, a big question, and Congresswoman, I'd like you to weigh in on this as well. You know, 4 or 5 years ago, the president talked about the fundamental transformation of the nation, and of course, socialized medicine is the cornerstone of that. A couple of days ago, he said we're just a couple of days away from finishing the job. That's what he meant. And now here we are, and because of infighting within our own party, which is particularly shameful, by the way, we now have the green light for Obamacare. And I really salute both of you that you are doing everything you can at this point. But my big question to you first, Congressman, is do you believe that the left has essentially succeeded in the fundamental transformation of the nation because they've been able to get socialized medicine?
No, because their product is so abysmally poor. I mean, look, Monica, this thing was never ready for prime time. It was kind of like saying the dog ate my homework, so I turned in a rough draft, and it accidentally got signed into law. That's why it's so hard to implement, because there are so many errors written into law and signed by the president. But look, if the president really was serious about working with congressional Republicans, how about he send the people from his agencies to our committee prepared to answer our questions and not stonewall us as they repetitively have done. I reached out to our White House liaison early in the year and I said, okay, you won re-election. When you come to our committees, be prepared to work with us. But we don't get any sort of responsible answer to any question. And just last week, they lied to me. I said, yes or no, are you going to be ready on October 1st? And the man gave me some blathering answer, but the real answer was no. no, Congressman, we ain't going to be ready.
Right, because they don't care, Congressman. They don't care because the overall issue here for them is that Obamacare was never about, you're right, it was never about health care or health insurance. It was about government power and control, Congresswoman.
That's right. Controlling people's lives. This is what it's about, putting the nation closer to the edge of bankruptcy. It's already going to triple in cost, $2.6 trillion. We'll add about $6 trillion extra going forward over the next decade. This is something that we have to stop now. Delay, defund, repeal, replace. That is our goal on behalf of the American people who are focused on freedom, free people, free markets. We cannot let them put this law into action.
And no one can afford it. No one can afford the premiums.
That's right.
No, and we can't afford the fundamental transformation of America either. Thanks to both of you, and thank you for your fearlessness and keep fighting on this. Thanks, guys.